Hey everybody, Pastor Steve here. I want to hopefully give you a quick word of encouragement. Maybe there might be some conviction in here as well. It's always good when we get convicted, and I have been. So I'm going to read you a couple of passages, and then I have some thoughts. Jonah chapter 1, verses 1 through 3. The word of the Lord came to Jonah, son of Amittai. Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me. But Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed for Tarshish. He went down to Joppa, where he found a ship bound for that port. After paying the fare, he went aboard and sailed for Tarshish to flee from the Lord. And here's a complimentary verse, Philippians chapter 2, verse 21. Paul writes to the Philippian church, and he says, "For everyone looks out for their own interests, not those of Jesus Christ," which, of course, is what Jonah was doing. And I have to make a confession. I have found myself since the beginning of June with this very powerful impulse to wish that all these problems would go away, the social unrest, the pandemic. I want it to be over. I want life to go back to normal. Sometimes it's just an overwhelming impulse. And that's a good question to ask myself. This is a moment of refining in our country, a moment of refining in our church. And regarding the social unrest, people are crying out for real injustice for not just months or years, but centuries of injustice that have been visited upon African Americans in this country. And I'm white. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. And so I have this really a privilege to be able to want to just disengage. I don't have to think about it all the time. And now I'm kind of being forced to think about it, And, part of Jonah's motivation in running from the Lord is that he didn't like the Assyrians. He didn't like Nineveh. Nineveh had, done some bad things to Israel. He had racial issues with the Ninevites. And rather than go and minister to them, we find out later in the book, rather than the possibility that the Lord might forgive them, he just ran away. Didn't face that. And it begs the question: why do we look out for our own interests, not those of Jesus Christ? Why do we run away from the hard things the Lord might be doing? And I think for all of us, human nature has this desire to be enthroned. It's kind of the mother of all sins, is self-enthronement. And there's nothing wrong with being comfortable. God is the God of all comfort. When it's the Lord that's doing the comforting, when it's, he's comforting me with his gifts or his presence or whatever. But when I seek comfort for myself in dereliction of my duty, that's another story altogether. And I see that in my heart when I just want things to be easy again, and I want to go back to simpler times, and I want to avoid the discomfort of confronting some of the issues of our time. That's what is at the heart of my problem. I think I'm avoiding the discomfort of having to face things about myself and about our history that are just they're not pleasant, right? Having to listen to other people and not be defensive, particularly as a white man, listening to non-white people and not being defensive and just listening, It'd be easier if it just kind of blows over and we go back to normal. And I think normal wasn't working for a lot of people, including the African-American community. And God, yes, there's other actors that play. The devil's at work as well, and flesh in the world. But God is at work. God is sovereign, and he's causing the church to wrestle with this, particularly the white middle-class evangelical church, to wrestle with this and maybe for the first time begin to see some things. And so I've been convicted about my own desire to be comfortable, my own desire to avoid, self-confrontation. And God has kind of shown me in these verses that's what I need to embrace that. I need to embrace this period of refining, and out of this, maybe the Lord can do something great in our church and in our city. We don't know. But one thing's for sure, let the Lord do the comforting, and don't run away from him to seek it for yourself. Face whatever he has for you, particularly if you are a Christian of lighter skin tone. This is a great time, as I've mentioned previously, to listen, to face things, to wrestle, and to hear, and to grow. And maybe God can do something great with this. Thanks so much.